Hey, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're playing A Nightmare on Elm Street on the NES. That's actually a picture of Freddy from the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy Revenge poster. Even though this game is roughly based on A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, you can see that the hand art, he's not wearing a glove, he actually has claws coming out of his hand, which happened to Jesse on A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. If you feel like that's spoilers, that movie came out in 1985. It's now 2016, November 2016 to be exact with this recording. This is actually the third time I've actually attempted to record this game. I really like this game, and every time that I tended to record it, I screwed it up in some way. I believe the last time I screwed it up was I had a slower computer, and it used to chop the footage up into little segments, and the first segment came out really well, but I forgot to turn the volume up of the commentary on every single segment. So after the first segment, you can barely hear me talk, and I don't even remember what the problem with the first one was. But anyway, I had this plan for Halloween, didn't work out because it's November 6th, this recording, and obviously Halloween is long past. I didn't really feel up to making videos. I was tempted to do a contemporary video to switch things up, and by doing contemporary, I was going to do a live stream video, and I was like, that's kind of a cop-out. I really want to do a legit contemporary video if I do one instead of another live stream. I'm never happy with the live stream footage. I think it's cool if people actually watch the live streams, which I might get a couple people, which I do appreciate when they do actually watch the live streams, but you know, I'm not really happy with the picture quality, and I never can guarantee the sound. And if it's a game like, say, Battlefield 1, which I really want to record, in order to do decent in that type of game, you need to hear the game pretty well, and you just don't hear it all that well when you have the sound down, and you tend to die a lot more than you usually would. I would probably die a lot anyway. You might notice that I'm not talking about the game all that much, which is a real shame because I think this is a great game, but it's my channel. I can do whatever I want. It's not like I'm gonna lose revenue or anything, but yeah, so I'll eventually do contemporary videos. I believe I said that in the last video, which was sort of a bummer to put things into perspective if you're even interested. Beside the whole kind of disappointed with people who consider themselves gamers in general, that's an ongoing thing, you know. And a lot of times people will preach like positiveness about games and shit like that, but if you actually recommend games sometimes that don't fit into their criteria, they're super negative or whatever. So, you know, people say one thing and do another, but you know, it was that. And my dog was having hip problems, and I was kind of upset about that, and a lot of stuff going on. And Halloween tends to be my personal favorite time of the year, and things weren't turning out as good as they could be. Personal stuff going on in the family. I'm sure none of you really give a shit about that, but that's why I was all over the place. I cringed when I rewatched the video because a lot of times when I wanted to talk, I wasn't saying like the right words weren't coming out of my mouth, kind of like now, because I'm watching this video and trying to talk at the same time, which ironically, I figured recording the commentary afterwards would eliminate that problem, but apparently it does not. So this is the first boss fight. I don't remember how much I explained last time when I played this game. This is roughly based on A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. You start to gain powers, and you gain dream powers. Sorry, my brain just went into shock there for some reason. I guess the claw was just too much for me to handle. But you gain dream powers as you go on. You go to each you go to each house. I believe it's random every time you play. Don't quote me. Even though I really like this game, I haven't played it nearly enough. Now, this isn't the greatest game ever made, but it definitely gets a bad rap, and I think that's because LJN gets a bad rap, but people forget that LJN's a publisher, not a developer. And sorry to break people's hearts now, this was actually developed by Raresoft. You know, the people who made GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong Country, a lot of people's favorite games. I believe they made Battletoads, you know. So I think this is a quality game. If you get that Rare compilation, which is one of the few games on the Xbox One I really would want, you'll notice that there's a lot of good games on there. Unfortunately, they couldn't get licensed games, so this wouldn't be on there, but it should be. This game gets a bad rap, but I think it has an awesome sound effect. The only criticism I would give to this game is that the controls are a little bit floaty and slippery. Somebody modded that and made the controls a little bit more fluid, and he didn't slide like he was on ice all the time, or like gravity was lowered. I think this game would work. Just turn up the gravity a little bit and have the controls a little bit more responsive, and I think this would be a pretty excellent title. I mean, compared to Friday the 13th, and I think Friday the 13th would actually be a fun game too. I actually like Friday the 13th Before I Die. See, you don't have to beat a game in order to have fun. Like, you can play a game and be terrible at it and still enjoy it. I've never beat Contra, but I absolutely have a blast when I play those games. So, and I never beat some of the Castlevanias, and I still absolutely love them. Sorry for the police siren. I live downtown. It happens. There's actually a fire station behind my house. If you're new to the channel, I probably said it in another video. But anyway, the goal of the game is to go to random houses and buildings. Some are locked. You go in, you collect the bones. If you don't collect them in a certain amount of time, you go into the dream world, and then things become slightly more powerful. Right now, it appears that I am asleep because I wasn't paying attention. But those look like zombies, and those rats are awfully giant. I think this is still... I think he's still awake in this, because I think the rats turn into faces. Everything turns into faces in this game when you're in the dream world. But yeah, I think this is a great game. Definitely sparked my interest into Nightmare on Elm Street. When I played this game, I was not allowed to watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, for good reason. The only experience of Freddy Krueger I ever had was A Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy's Nightmares, which was a short-lived cheesy anthology TV series that starred Freddy usually in the bookends. Freddy wasn't usually in the episodes themselves, but it was kind of referenced that Freddy had something to do with there's a little power up to make you run faster. This is up to 4 players. I think you take turns. I don't really know how it works. I never had 4 friends or a multi-tap at my house at the same time, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, it's a good premise. You collect bones. It's roughly kind of like the third movie. You play as some generic dude. I would assume, if I were to guess anybody from the third Nightmare on Elm Street, you're playing as the doctor. I can't really think of his name. The one that was involved with Nancy. Yeah, this is the dream world right here. I was right. He wasn't in dream world yet. So now everything's going to have faces on it. For some reason, because Freddy likes to put his face on everything, and you know, you gotta love skeleton bats. They're actually less dangerous than the real bats, since they're all bones. They actually don't have saliva, which means they don't carry rabies, so what a relief. Anyway, I watched Cujo, so rabies is stuck in my head. Feel really bad for the dog that was actually in the movie Cujo, putting all that slime and shit on him. Man, poor dog. Because you know that shit probably dried up by the end of the day. He also got rabies symptoms really fast, but I mean, what do you expect for like an hour and a half, you know? They're not going to have the whole 2-month waiting period. Definitely makes you think about rabies, but you know, they should make a movie about human rabies and not like some sci-fi shit. They should make a serious movie. I think that would be really scary about someone getting human rabies. It scares the shit out of me. Like, I'm really paranoid about all my animals being vaccinated and stuff like that. But wow, I'm way off target. So basically in the third movie, cover your ears if you haven't seen it, but you should, because it's one of the best Nightmare on Elm Street movies there is, and Nightmare on Elm Street is like my favorite movie. In order to destroy Freddy in this movie, he needs a proper burial since the parents went out and torched him, which is why he's a ghost or whatever. They tried to hide the body, so they hid the bones. I won't tell you where, so if you haven't seen the movie, you'll get some sort of enjoyment out of it. Although watching it like for the 20th time in a row, I still enjoy it, so I don't think it should matter if it spoil it for you or not. But you know, I'm trying to be nice here. But anyway, they have to, well, the one doctor has to find Freddy's bones and give him a proper burial, which is what you're kind of doing on this, but you never played as like some tank top dude or whatever. There's actually a more accurate version of A Nightmare on Elm Street on computer systems at the time. The only one I can think of offhand, there were other ones, but the only one I can think of, well, there's two of them. I think it came out on IBM or DOS or whatever. And then there was a Commodore 64 version that was like a isometric view, like Zombie Ate My Neighbors, and that actually had the characters from the movie. Like I think you're saving Joey, and you can play as Kincaid and Nancy and Kristen, and I don't think you can play the nerdy kid in the wheelchair. I can't think of his name offhand. Really bad with names. People should wear name tags all the time because I'm so bad with names. But yeah, that one was more realistic, but this one's far more playable. I think that one had like 50 levels, and it gets weird. It's like a snow level, but always wanted to see a contemporary Freddy game. It'd be cool if they actually, since Robert Englund's older, it'd be kind of cool if they did like the motion capture stuff like they do with Nolan North and stuff with the Uncharted series, but I'm sure it's really expensive, and since Robert Englund is no longer Freddy since they came out with the remake, although it didn't do that well, so I think it'd be a hit if they advertised it right. But if they did motion capture, made a digital Freddy, and like made the game like Silent Hill where you're stuck in this dream that's always changing and shit like that, I think that would make such a cool contemporary A Nightmare on Elm Street game. And like the sky would be the limit with your imagination and stuff like that, and just have puzzles. Like have a game where you're like in a coma from something, maybe a car wreck or some shit, and you're just trying to survive through the dream as like Freddy gets you or chases you and pursues you in different indirect ways. But anyway, yeah, going back to the story, my first experience with Freddy was the TV series. I believe it came on Fox's UHF channel, so it barely came in very well. The UHF channel, I think you got two PBSs and Fox, which even as a kid, even though it was probably out before I was born in 84, it was a fairly new channel, and they didn't have a lot of original content. Like a lot of the times they would just show movies and stuff that they happen to have the license for. Sometimes they showed the Terminator a lot, so I think Fox had the home video rights for that, because I remember the old VHS tape saying Fox on it. I think it said like, it was weird, was it CBS Fox or whatever, I don't know, but I know they had the rights to that movie and a lot of other movies that weren't that popular. It was very rare when you saw something that was actually familiar. I mean, I think back then Fox's greatest hits were Cops and America's Most Wanted. They came on Saturday nights along with other random shows I don't remember. They had decent cartoons though, but they were usually syndicated reruns of stuff that other networks already had. But a lot of times the syndicated cartoons are actually better than the network ones because they were allowed to get away with more. Like, for instance, The Real Ghostbusters, the syndicated episodes in The Real Ghostbusters were way better and more violent, and the monsters were a lot more messed up than the network Nightmare on Elm Streets. Like, you had Cthulhu in one of them. But my dad brought a stack of these games home that they were selling. I guess they cleaned them out or whatever, and they were all $10 each. I wish I would have bought it at the time, but you know, whatever. I'm playing it now. So you can get this game fairly cheaply. I believe the last time I saw it, it was around $30. When my dad had it around when I was 12. I'm 32 now. It was they were selling it for $10, but that was usually the standard price for used NES games. They weren't really like baseball cards back then, but $30 is around what I've seen the average person pay for it. I personally think it's a good game, and I think it gets shit on too much, and I think it has an excellent soundtrack. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and this really piqued my interest. So you know, I take it back. I wasn't even 12. I was 9 years old, because I remember I was in the 4th grade and I was taking Taekwondo at the time, which I remember now. I didn't like to go or whatever. I didn't like the kids there or some shit. And there was a video store right beside it, and for whatever reason, my mom let me rent the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and she thought it was going to scare the crap out of me. But what's crazy is, what was in my imagination was like way scarier than what Freddy actually was. So I was never really afraid of Freddy, and I thought the concept and everything was really cool. And the movie itself was awesome. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. But I watched it, and Freddy was way scarier in my mind than what the movie actually ended up being like. Basically, when I played this game took a lot of liberties. So I basically came up with all these wild theories on my own, what Freddy was like and all this stuff, and it was way scarier than what the movie was like, even though the movie took a lot of awesome creative liberties that I didn't see in the horror movies that I saw at the time, or even now. But I mean, you know, nowadays, like, horror movies borrow from other horror movies, even though I don't watch a lot of contemporary ones. So to be honest with you, I probably don't even know what I'm talking about as far as that goes. But yeah, I really like the Nightmare on Elm Street, and I really like this game. This game got me interested to the point I begged my mom to let me see the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I saw it, and it was awesome. And if it wasn't for this game, maybe I never would have had any interest in seeing the movies, because it was popular when I was a kid, and I remember seeing the trailers and stuff like that, but I wasn't old enough and I kind of forgot about it. But then after I played the game, I was looking at the boxes in the video store, which also helped me try to imagine, because the poster, as you saw in the beginning, is really surreal and doesn't really tell you much about the movie. It has like this really surreal imagery, so I had no idea what the movies were going to be like. And I asked my friends that saw it, and of course every single one of my friends at the time growing up were pathological liars. They probably never even saw the movie, so they would make up all this bullshit, and I was gullible and I believed them, and I thought that's what Freddy would be like. But yeah, this is a really solid NES game if you ask me, and it deserves more love. And yeah, the controls are a little bit off, but I still think it's a solid title, and hopefully I gave the game the love that it deserves in this video. I'll probably do a 4th video 2 years from now, knowing my luck. But yeah, I would definitely check this out. I definitely will try to be better about switching it up, although I'm not gonna promise you. Now that I think about it, I take all that back. You'll just get what you get. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're all doing well. Take care, and if you come across this game and you're curious about it, why not give it a shot? I think it's great, and obviously what I say is law, so whatever. Check it out. Take care. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment,